Hilton in Uptown Charlotte. We welcome those also watching online. North Carolina and the Tar Heels have joined us for the next 30 minutes. We have our 3 student athletes and our head coach in Bill Belichick. Coach Belichick will offer an opening statement, and then we will, as we have done, move the microphone around the room for question and answers for our head coach and our student athletes. So, Coach Belichick, the podium is yours.
Thank you. Oh. I appreciate everybody coming out today. It's really exciting for me to be here. Start with Chancellor Roberts. He's made such a huge difference in the opportunity to come to North Carolina. Been very supportive. Has given us a great opportunity at a school that's already a great school with a great brand. And obviously, Bubba Cunningham, Steve Newmark, those guys have been great. Our alumni, Mike Lombardi and I we're into the double figures on the donor events and alumni events, things like that. And I'd say just the sport's been overwhelmingly tremendous. Not only supportive, but engaged and, very excited. We want to match that excitement and put that on the field. So, Mike and I have worked together for a long time, going all the way back to the start of Cleveland. Mike in the general manager role, myself in the head coaching role. And, we've had a lot of experience in dealing with kind of what the college football landscape is now. Similar, not the same, but similar in terms of, NIL, revenue sharing, free agency, if you will, and, recruiting, post-draft type recruiting as opposed to drafting. And so, Mike's done a great job of, it's reinforcing the roster. We have a number of players here that have been here that we're, excited to work with. We have 2 of them here, Jordan and Will. But also, we brought in a lot of players. We have 70 new players from last year, so that weren't on the roster last season. So, that's a lot of people and a lot of turnover. It's also been that way with our coaching staff. Some of the players or some of the staff members on the coaching end and on the sport end and scouting I've worked with in the past, but there are a lot of new people there. So when you combine all the scouting support and player transition into the program, it's a lot. And we're very much looking forward to getting out on the field next week and seeing it all come together. I've been super impressed with the way our players have competed. They've worked really hard. I think they're in good condition. We've hit a lot of personal. They've hit a lot of personal high marks, in whether it be strength, speed, explosion, different measurements that we've taken through the course of the training, the beginning through the end, and looking back on their career from previous training years. Like, these guys have really worked hard, and they have a lot to show for it. And so we're almost at the point where we can get out there and start putting together the chemistry, the timing, the execution, the communication, that we need to have on the field. But Mike and his scouting staff have really, between the scouting on the freshmen or the incoming recruits, the 26th class, which is already looking like that'll be a pretty positive group, and 2 transfer portals. The roster is very competitive, and I look forward to seeing how all that plays out. And everybody's got a lot of focus, obviously, on the TCU opener, which is in our sights. But really, right now, the big thing for us is just stacking good training days, one on top of another, one at a time, and being ready to go not only for the opener but for the entire regular season and the ACC schedule. So, that's our outlook. Just put good days together, take advantage of every opportunity. Don't let any days go by where we don't continue to improve, get better, and get closer to becoming the most consistent and best football team we can be when we step out on the field, and that'll hopefully continue every week. That we'll continue to improve as a team and all the way through the course of the season. So that's what we've always tried to do, and so that'll be our goals this year.
Coach, thank you. We will take questions from the room as it has been in the past. Please identify yourselves and the agency that you are with, and we'll get to as many questions in 10 minutes before our student athletes as we can. And our first question will come first row, left side, Coach, right in front.
Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. Coach, coming to this specific institution and developing these players off the field, why it was right for you to come to North Carolina and develop these Tar Heels?
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Developing players is really what coaching is, and that's what we do. We take great pride in that, myself and our staff, and players who want to be developed. So a Carolina player is a player who wants to be a good football player, who wants to work hard, who wants to make a commitment towards improving on a regular basis, both training and team execution on the field. And so when we get those players, we see a lot of improvement, a lot of development, and that's going back, what was it, Cleveland, where Mike and I put together an offensive line where, 4 of the 5 stars are free agents, or at New England where we had a number of, low draft choices, or high draft choices, I should say. I'd say Brady and Edelman, players like that, who turned out to be great players, as well as some of the other players, are higher picks that developed, like Gronkowski. And so forth. So development's a big part for us, and players that want to come in, work hard, be good players, learn and compete. Competition is what makes us all better. Again, the best competition for me, I learned the most from, going against, great offensive coaches like, Andy Reid and Kyle Shanahan, Mike Shanahan, Joe Gibbs, and all those guys that I competed against. That's what made me great as a coach. Or made me work the hardest as a coach, was to compete against those people. And so same thing for the players. Internal competition, the competition we have daily on the field, will get us most ready for the competition that we'll face on Saturdays or whenever the games are. So thank you.
Coach, right side, 5th row, hard to the right side.
Hard right.
Standing up now.
Yes.
Hey, Coach. Thomas Christopher of the League Winners. I have a 2-part roster building and general football question for you. Do you believe that the evolution of the fullback position, kind of being turned more into an H-back role, was more due to roster flexibility and player versatility? And with the cyclical nature of football, do you see that position kind of being revitalized now that defenses are more finesse-driven?
Well, hopefully we won't be in the finesse-driven category. We're certainly not shooting for that. But yeah, thanks for the question. The fullback question is an interesting question. It really, I think, picked up a lot of momentum when Coach Coryell started with that, and then Joe Gibbs brought it to Washington and ran one-back offense with Riggins and those guys, all the backs he had there. They kind of rotated them through, George Rogers, all those guys, and then that they caught on definitely throughout the NFL. And at the Giants, we faced that twice a year, and so pretty familiar with the way that one-back offense evolved. And now as offenses have gotten into more spread formations, whereas a lot of 11 personnel and almost all college defenses and pro defenses for that matter are nickel-based, with maybe a 6 defensive back in passing situations, but most everybody's playing 5 defensive backs. I think that reflects on the lack of a fullback, and even in 12 personnel, where usually one of the tight ends is a receiving tight end. So how that trend will continue, I don't know. I'd say for us, we'll do what we feel like is best for the football team, like we always do, and just see how that plays out. But it's been an interesting evolution that's gone from everything being all 2-back. I remember when I first started with the Colts, we went through all the defensive adjustments, that there was always one little box in the very bottom of the corner, or bottom corner of the page, that had a 1-back set on. Everything else was in 2 backs, whether it was brown, blue, black, green, depending on where the backs were set. There were different color codes for the formations, and there was one box for the 1-back sets, and now there's no 2-back sets. So yeah, that's been an evolution.
Coach, left side, towards the left. Sir, if you'll
Left side towards the left. Got it.
Left side.
Hey, Coach, this is Grayson Mann with TigerNet.com. Talking to Dabo Sweeney earlier, he said how much he's learned from you since you've made this move to North Carolina. How has your relationship with him grown, as well as the other coaches within the ACC?
Yeah, we're all learning from Dabo. That's very, very nice of him to say that, very complimentary. Dabo's been a friend for a long time. We've scouted his players from the NFL down. Some of the players that are here today, I actually thought, well, maybe we'll be drafting one of these guys. And now here we are going to be playing against them. So, but Dabo's been great. I have so much respect for him, the Clemson program, what he's done, the way he runs it. It's high quality. Kids are high quality. He came up to New England, got probably the top player out of New England, in the last probably decade. Christian Wilkins out of Springfield, Suffield Academy, and I think that says a lot for the program that he runs, and what he's done for not only college football but all the student athletes that he's coached there. They've gone on to represent him and the school very well, and again, I have a ton of respect for Dabo and what he's done. Great opportunity to spend some time with him at the ACC coaches meetings, and it's always been a really enjoyable guy to be around. I don't know if that'll be true on Saturday afternoon, probably not, but at least in these meetings it is. Yeah.
Coach, right side, third row.
Kenton Gibbs with Locked On ACC. Coach, one of the biggest differences between the pro game and college game is you're dealing with 18 to 23, 24-year-olds as opposed to full-grown men with families and whatnot. And with an offseason that's seen a little bit of controversy and all that type of stuff, how have you ushered them through blocking the noise and keeping the main thing the main thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, the great thing about working with the college players is just the growth and the development that I've seen with them. I saw a little bit of that last year when I was at Washington with Coach Fish and Steve out there to see how much the players improved from the spring until the start of training camp. And this year, of course, we haven't started training camp yet, but through the course of the spring, the amount of improvement that our players made in those 15 days, most of which were in pads, is something that you never saw in the NFL because we never, could wear pads in the off season. And so how much better the players got in their fundamentals, their footwork, their hand placement, leverage, tackling, so forth, all the physicality things that come with different positions, whether that's press release, jams, and so forth. The improvement was tremendous. And so I'd say on the college end, you're right, the players are a little bit younger and less skilled. Sometimes that's an advantage. There are fewer bad habits to break. But I would say also the players are, I'd say, much more receptive to the coaching. They haven't had as long with the way that they were doing it, through a college career, maybe even through some pro years, where they were, started to develop some habits that they were comfortable with, and they were a little harder to change. I'd say, with our players, they've been very receptive to everything we've asked them to do. They've trained extremely hard. As I said, the personal achievements between their strength, their speed, their explosiveness, all the different body fat percentages, all different things that we measure is, in the high 90% range. I mean, there's only a couple guys that haven't, had the improvement, but really it's been pretty much the whole team. So that's been, as a coach, it's fun. It's fun to see players get better, and then that gives them more momentum to keep working. I know we've given the players a couple of weeks off, in the training cycle from time to time, and in a lot of cases they come back even a little bit further ahead of where they were when they left, which kind of indicates they continue to work hard in their training. So, we're excited to see how all that manifests itself out on the field when we actually start playing football. But I think we'll be ready to start when we get going next week. No, thank you.
Coach, thanks for the time. You can switch.